Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Global Healthcare Archive. I don't know about you, but this New Year's Eve was one of the tamest New Years for me. And honestly, I'm hoping that it ends up defining what the rest of 2021 has to hold for us. 2020 was a little too dramatic. As this is our first episode of the new year, we want to spend a little more time covering the biggest news of 2020. Yup, I'm going to be talking about COVID-19 and our dear friend SARS-CoV-2. We've had a fair share of new updates on both of them over the last few days, and I thought I'd take this opportunity to dig a little deeper into what we're dealing with, the road ahead, and what it means for all of us. Last year, as India and the world went into the first lockdown in March, I sat down to rewatch a 2011 prophetic movie, Contagion. I'm sure you've seen it, and there's a quote by Dr. Ellis Cheever that kind of stayed with me. And he says, in order to become sick, you have to first come into contact with a sick person or something that they touched. In order to get scared, all you have to do is come in contact with a rumor or the television or the internet. So let's eliminate the rumors and let's take a moment to get reintroduced to COVID. COVID-19, discovered in December 2019 in Wuhan, is an infectious disease caused by the novel coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2. While the symptoms range between fever, dry cough, and fatigue accompanied by loss of taste and smell, most people infected recovered without requiring special treatment. Then, when the global pandemic was announced, there was a general ignorance of the structure, pathogenesis, and treatment of the virus, leading to widespread panic. However, researchers soon overcame these knowledge gaps and even came up with potential vaccine candidates. However, this too was short-lived. The virus as we knew it started mutating. Now, DNA viruses, which have relatively stable structures, and viruses which have high mortality rate, usually do not mutate as aggressively. This is because the host dies before the virus can spread to other hosts, and viruses cannot exist without a host. However, RNA viruses, which have highly unstable structures, or viruses that have lower mortality rate and high infection rates, mutate rapidly because they maintain a number of hosts available for their mutation. COVID-19 has hit this evolutionary sweet spot. When mutating, characteristics that help virus grow tend to be transferred to the next generation, whereas those that make it difficult to spread to another host tend to be lost, similar to the evolution process in humans. Antibodies developed by the host act as a defense mechanism against the virus by locking onto its outer surface proteins and preventing it from affecting the host cells. However, a mutated virus can circumvent this defense mechanism and infect the host because these mutations usually involve changes to the virus's outer surface. Let's fast forward to December 8, 2020. Scientists and public health experts in the UK identified a surge in cases of COVID-19 exhibiting a unique viral sequence. This mutation, now known as B.1.1.7, started a new spike, triggering a new set of unanswered questions. Is this the only time that the virus has mutated? Well, far from it. A number of mutations have been identified over the past year. The virus that was first detected in Wuhan, China, is not the same one found elsewhere in the world today. Apparently, the new variants reproduced 0.5 to 0.7 times faster than the original virus, resulting in higher transmission rates. Most mutations alter the most vital part of the virus, the spikes known as the receptor binding domain. These mutations lead to concerns regarding the efficacy of the existing vaccines because the leading players in the vaccine game, Pfizer and Moderna, have formulated vaccines that train the immune system to attack these very same spikes. So will this new variant be more deadly? For now, it doesn't seem so. However, given its rapid transmission rate, it has the potential to overburden the already crippled healthcare ecosystem by the force of sheer numbers, if not potency, as a certain percentage of the affected population will require hospital administration. Okay, so that's as far as the virus is concerned. Now let's look at the vaccine or vaccines that are out there. 9 vaccine makers today, namely AstraZeneca, BioNTech, GlaxoSmithKline, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, Moderna, Novavax, Pfizer, and Sanofi, have signed a joint pledge for the development of potential vaccines for COVID-19, considering highly ethical standards. Bharat Biotech, Serum Institute of India, Zydus Cadila, Panacea Biotech, Indian Immunologicals, Mindvax, Biological E, and Aurobindo Pharma are some of the Indian pharma companies in the vaccine race. As you're probably aware, Russia's Sputnik V became the first registered vaccine against COVID-19, while AstraZeneca and Oxford University, Moderna, and Pfizer and BioNTech have reportedly produced vaccines with more than 90% efficacy. To round it up and playing a little bit of catch-up, Johnson & Johnson plans to start trials later this month. As we speak, the following countries have approved the start of mass vaccinations. But the big debate rages on. Who should be inoculated first? At present, the focus is centered on high-risk patients, senior citizens, and healthcare workers. Understandably, many primary care doctors are angry and frustrated over not being vaccinated on priority and the uncertainty on when they will get their turn. Well, debates aside, today over 18 million people have been vaccinated against COVID-19 around the world. The US is leading with over 8 million doses already administered, UK at 4 million, Israel at 2 million, and other countries rapidly filling the gap. Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine, which is similar to Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, was the first to be authorized and shipped to the US. But each pharma company's vaccine differs from the other in terms of storage temperature. Moderna's vaccine, which claims to be 94.1% efficient, can be stored at normal temperature, whereas Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, with an efficacy of 95%, has to be stored between minus 80 degrees to minus 60 degrees Celsius. Closer home in India, regulators have finally approved the usage of the AstraZeneca-Oxford vaccine manufactured by the Serum Institute of India and an emergency approval for the Bharat Biotech's Covaxin. In fact, as you're watching this right now, India would have started the vaccination of critical frontline workers across the country. This will help control the outbreak, which has so far infected over 10 million people in India. At present, India stands at a population of over 1.3 billion people, with a goal of vaccinating over 300 million frontline workers by August. Surely a formidable challenge like never before. To enable a smooth and effective rollout, the Government of India has set to launch a mobile application called COVID Vaccine Intelligence Network, or COVIN. The COVIN platform will help coordinate a nationwide inoculation process and assist healthcare authorities in monitoring the vaccine and their efficacy in real time. So it does seem like 2021 is going to be better than 2020 after all. Every week we're seeing an improvement in the management of the disease, and the world is also becoming better prepared to tackle any future healthcare crisis that may emerge. Having said that, what should you and I do? If you are a frontline worker or are involved in any aspect of public health that is at a high risk of exposing you to the virus, make sure you've registered in your respective national or state vaccination registry. Frontline workers include healthcare professionals, sanitation workers, police and paramilitary staff, and select government department professionals. Additionally, individuals over the age of 50 with high-risk comorbidities should register for the vaccine too. In most regions, you will need to reach out to your employer or your government authority to register through them. If you don't fit into any of these categories, you can still play a crucial role in fighting this disease. As you're probably aware, there is a lot of misinformation being spread about the disease, the vaccine, their efficacy, contraindications, and adverse effects. You and I need to be the voices of reason that work hard to kill any rumor. Stay away from sharing every bit of unverified information that comes to you through social media. Instead, let's educate ourselves only from verified sources and inform those around us so they can do the same. Lawrence Fishburne says it perfectly in Contagion.
Right now, our best defense has been social distancing. No handshaking, staying home when you're sick, washing your hands frequently.
And that's a wrap for the week. If there's something in particular you'd like us to cover in next week's video, drop us a comment below or reach out to us directly. Till then, stay healthy, stay informed, and stay safe.